Hello everyone, it's Mystic Juicer here, and welcome to episode 3 of Getting Good at Yomi. Today, we are finally going to get to the good stuff, and that is character selection. So, how to pick and learn a character in Yomi. There are currently 20 characters available in the roster in Yomi, and each of them is a pretty unique puzzle and plays very differently from any of the other characters. They all have their own unique special moves, their own speeds, different amounts of throws, dodges, late game, early game play, pressure, grappling versus non, tons of different variety, and it can be a little bit overwhelming to just dig in and try to find what character might be good for you. Luckily, staff and members of the forums have put together a ton of different resources that makes it really easy to get an overview of what each character is about and whether you might enjoy them. I've started us off at the fantasystrike.com game screen, and from here what you're going to do is you're going to select the forums tab here, head over to the Yomi subforum, find the Yomi forum index, collected links to important threads thread. Then you're going to scroll on down and you're going to click on this Yomi 2nd edition character overview basics link. That's going to take you over to a thread created by Clan Nadioi, awesome Midori player and all-around spectacular person, who's put together a short write-up on each of the 20 characters. And so if you want to see kind of a general overview of what each of these characters is about, what their moves are like, but most importantly what their playstyle is and why you might enjoy them, as well as an overview of their moves and other characteristics, you're going to be able to find that here. And it's just a fantastic resource. It's not an in-depth guide of like tips, tricks, setups, different stuff like that. We'll get to those later, but what it is a very comprehensive look at each character in terms of what they play like and what you might enjoy. So fantastic first resource that you can quickly get a sense of what each character might offer you. So as mentioned, there's a lot of differences and varieties of characters available. A cast of 20 is pretty huge. It's a really, really nice, vibrant cast of characters with lots of interesting stuff going on. I've put characters into 3 broad categories here. So at the very bottom are the characters who are fairly simple to pick up and play. That's not to say that these characters like simple or brain dead or anything. It's just that there is a little bit less going on there, a little bit less complexity and things that you have to manage. So if you're just starting out, I would recommend you stick or you pick up and try DeGray, Grave, Valerie, Setsuki, Onimaru, Trock, or Gwen. Any of those characters, and there's a variety of different playstyles there. Trock is a grappler, Gwen, Valerie, and Setsuki are kind of on the rushdown side of characters. Grave is your all-rounder, and DeGray and Onimaru can really dish out high levels of damage. So there's a lot of stuff you can explore in just the quote-unquote simpler characters. Moving up a step, you've got characters that have a little bit more going on, kind of intermediate characters I would categorize them on. 2 of the other grapplers are in there, Midori and Rook, and then you have Argagar, Glum, Manelker, Vendetta, and Zane. And again, there's a variety of different playstyles available there for you. And finally, at the very top, these are the more complicated characters to initially pick up and learn. They have things about them that change the way that Yomi is played in pretty dramatic ways. So not to say that if you fall in love with, say, Quince right out the gate, that you shouldn't, that you should start playing Grave and then move on to somebody else in the second band and then finally kind of graduate to Quince once you've passed your tests and stuff. If there's a character that really speaks to you, just dive right in with them. None of these characters are so incredibly complex that you're not going to be able to pick them up, but you are going to have to spend a bit more time getting used to how the members at the top of this screen play. Whereas you can, if you pick up DeGray and then pick up Onimaru or pick up Grave, you're going to have a sense of what your game plan should be generally. So how do I get a sense of how these characters play? You know, I don't want to spend the $15 right off the bat to pick up a game I'm not sure I'm going to enjoy, so what are my options? So there are some ways that you can try out different characters without having to spend any money. So first of all, if you create an account at fantasystrike.com, you're going to have access to a rotating free character of the week. If you go to this main screen, you'll see one of the characters will be kind of highlighted in this glowing outline, and that character is just going to be free to play entirely. You can play unlimited amounts of matches with them. There's never going to be an issue. It's going to rotate every week and just move randomly about the cast. So that's a way to give different characters a try and see if their playstyle might be something you're interested in. You also get a certain amount of free plays every 24 hours. So as soon as you log into the site, every 24 hours you're going to get a single free game with any member of the cast. Then you're also going to get a free game for your first win in a 24-hour period. So you're going to have 2 matches, which isn't a ton, but you can get kind of just see whether you like to play with a particular character, or maybe you get a nice flavor for that and you go, okay, well, I'm gonna keep an eye out and see when that character is free, and then I'll play a ton of games and figure out what's going on there. Once you're ready to take the plunge, head over to the store. And you've got different pricing options here. I'm just going to walk through them kind of briefly. You can buy gold. Each 10 gold is a game. So you can buy 80 games with any characters for $8, 2,500 for 20, etc. You can subscribe for $9 a month. That's going to give you unlimited plays with all of the characters and in all of the games. So there isn't just Yomi online, there's Yomi, Puzzle Strike, and Flash Duel, so you're going to get everything for $9. Kind of the all-out option. You can also buy, and this is what I've done, is you can buy the 10 characters at a time in a set for $15, which is really reasonable, I think. You can buy it on iPad as well and on iPhone. I don't know what the pricing options. I believe it's like $10 for 10 characters. So if you have those devices, you can do that. But if you're just playing through the browser, those are your 2 options and quite reasonable to play. And once you've bought those 10 characters, you have unlimited play with those characters. So if you've bought the base set, you have unlimited play with them. If any of the others, if you want to play any of the others and you haven't bought them yet, it's the same process as before. You get 2 free plays essentially. And then if any of them are the free character of the week, you can play them an unlimited amount of time. So as soon as you own them, you have unlimited play with them in that game. So awesome! You've picked your character, you've fallen in love with whatever it is, whoever it is, man, beast, woman, robot. The next step is actually to figure out how they play. For some characters, that's going to be relatively simple. It's not going to take you too long to figure out what they want to do and how to play them, what the overall game plan is. But you will have to spend some time, no matter who you pick, figuring out all the peculiarities and details of how they play. Some of their secret tech, so to speak. So what's your starting point? Well, as mentioned, Clanadio's resource there for character overviews is a great place to start. That's going to give you your basics. That's going to give you that game plan that you need to excel. Once you've read through that and kind of understand what's being said there, what you want to do is head over to the guide and take advantage of the amazing character guides available here. So find your character, we'll pick Grave because he's one of the lower complexity characters. And if you scroll down, you're going to get all of Grave's cards displayed. So you can have a look at each one and see what they do, what the damage is, what their combo points are, whether they're enders, starters, what his throws are like, all of that information, including his innate. But then at the very bottom, this is the thing that I would start with, is their deck essentially written out in text form, as well as some frequently asked questions, a bit of strategy. Some of this is written for first edition, so we're going to ignore that. What I would do is I would take this entire thing and actually copy paste it into a Word document and then print that out and actually work with it as a piece of paper. I'm not going to do that. I'll do this online, but that's, you know, when I'm on lunch on a slow day, I typically do that. Especially if you're, you know, this learning a character thing, these strategies and approaches are just as effective in terms of learning or preparing for a match against a specific person that you know plays a specific character. So everything you're going to pick up here, the approach is exactly the same. So the first thing you're going to do is read their innate. So check out their innate ability, and then find their actual abilities and read up on those as well. A character's innate ability is going to give you a really quick sense of something that's going to happen fairly often or is fairly important to the character's functioning. So using Grave as an example, his innate triggers whenever he blocks an attack. So every time you're blocking an attack, this thing is going to happen. So considering that, you know, given what we covered in episode 1, where we're thinking about blocking as a default, it's important to cover what you would do with that ability. Just sort of keep that in mind as you are looking at the rest of the character. What kind of things will it mean to my opponent when I reveal a card to them and sort of say, if I play this, I'm going to get a significant benefit. Whether I lose with it or win with it, I'm going to get some sort of benefit. What is that going to push them to do if I reveal X card versus Y card? So I would start asking myself those kinds of questions when I'm reading a character's innate ability. Next, you're going to look at their cards that have abilities on them. So Grave, for instance, has his abilities on his 7 and his 10, and his Jack. His 7 lets him, during the draw phase, discard the card to draw 2 cards, discard an additional card, and then look at his opponent's hand. So really quickly, just speaking specifically about Grave here, you're going to give a sense of what this character is going to do. So you have the ability when you play as Grave to get confirmed information about what your opponent's hand looks like. His 10 is a reaction, so he's going to be in reaction to some event. And what it lets him do is he's going to discard this card, his 10, and a face card to counter an ability. So specifically, you can't counter aces, jokers, or character cards, so they're innate abilities, but you can counter any of, for instance, if you're having a Grave mirror match, you could counter an opponent's 7, or you could counter an opponent's 10. And so we're seeing kind of a picture of Grave's ability to do specific things. So first of all, he has the ability to directly gain information about his opponent's hand. He has an ability to gain benefits after blocking, and he has the ability to shut down other characters' powerful abilities. Finally, on his J, we can see that when this deals block damage, you're going to be able to return it to your hand, and your opponent's not going to draw a card from blocking. So Grave has the ability to remove the benefit, the incredibly powerful benefit of blocking to build hand size. You're also going to want to look at where your abilities on your normals are. So for instance, Grave has an ability on his J, but his J, it's keyed off of playing it as a move, and it only has one kind of move. It's Lightning Cloud on both ends, so it's the same move no matter which side you reveal. On the other hand, his mental toughness is on his 10. Now his 10 throw is very slow. It's the slowest throw he has access to. This is also on a block. So there's very little reason to reveal this move other than as for its ability. On the other hand, when you look at his 7th throw is his fastest throw, and it also sits on a block. And this ability is incredibly powerful, so you really have to think about what situations would make you actually throw with this 7 rather than play his Martial Mastery. So keep that in mind as well. So now that we've looked at Grave's abilities, the next step is to ask yourself kind of 3 important questions. What's the most damage I can do off an attack, off a throw, and off a dodge? This is going to give you a sense of where your character is at their scariest. It's also information that if you're playing against the character, you're going to want to know. Once my life total is at 50, and I know that my opponent's character can deal 50 damage, I have to start thinking about playing around that specific 50 damage attack or combo or dodge or whatever it is. So the easiest way to figure out your max damage combo is using this text format of the deck. You've got their combo points, you have the statistics for all of their moves available, so just theory craft the most damaging combos you can. Once you've done that, you're probably going to get a sense of what the most crucial cards to gather are. If your most damaging combo is, for instance in Grave's case, a 6 normal attack into True Power of Storms for 51 damage, you're going to get the sense that that True Power of Storms, those 3 aces that he needs to use that move, are pretty crucial to the way this character works. So when you're playing Grave, you're going to keep in mind, I should be looking for aces. And the concept applies to any other character. For instance, maybe there's a character that deals a lot of damage off of a Jack. So you're going to know when you're playing them, you're going to want to know that I need to be keeping a lookout for my Jack. And once I've got a Jack in hand, that's when I can really go on the offensive and deal a ton of damage. It's also going to prevent you from doing silly things like powering up for aces with that Jack. If your power really comes from your Jack, then don't throw that away to get something less efficient unless you have very good reason to. The difference between the maximum damage that you do off of a throw and the maximum damage you do off of an attack is fairly important because, again, it's going to give you a sense. Think about it from when you're facing an opponent. If you know they can deal a maximum of 30 damage off of an attack and a maximum of 20 damage off of a throw, you're probably going to prefer to block because that keeps you safe from the attacks and only leaves you open to 20 damage off of a throw. Finally, maximum damage off of a dodge is very important in terms of late game. So usually a combo off of an attack or throw is going to deal more damage than a follow-up after a dodge. But The maximum amount of damage you can deal off of a dodge is a very crucial threshold in the late game. That's when your opponent has to think about playing a fast attack to beat both your attack and throw options, but still leaves them open to dodge follow-up into lethal. So once you've worked out those attack, throw, dodge combos, you're going to want to find out how many cards each of those combos cost you. Remember, big hand is better, small hand is bad, so how many cards you have to commit to deal that crazy damage is very important, because this is going to be a trigger for you to say, I can't go and do this. I can't play this combo until I have X cards in hand. And for different characters, that's going to be a different number, that X. So you want to know ahead of time, is this a character where I really need to be sitting on 12 cards in hand before I can start threatening and willingly play this combo? Or is this a character where if I've got 6 cards in hand, I'm good. I can go for my max damage combo and I'm going to be right as rain. The other important thing to look at is, for those maximum damage combos, how fast is the attack or throw that starts the combo? The faster your attack or throw that starts the combo off, the safer that combo is. If your combo starts with a 0 speed attack, that is an incredibly safe option, because it's going to beat every other attack that isn't 0 speed, every throw, because attacks beat throws, and the only thing it's going to lose to is a block or a dodge. That's 1 out of 3 of the Yomi options. Compare that to a combo that starts off with a 7 speed attack, which beats all throws, but loses to all the defensive options, both block and dodge, and also loses to every attack that's faster than a 7, which is almost every attack. So the speed of your starter is going to determine how risky a specific move is, or a specific combo is. The next thing I would recommend is to look into how much damage you can deal off of your fastest attack. So your fastest attack is going to be generally your safest move. The only way that you're going to receive damage when you play your fastest attack is if somebody dodges, or beats you with an even faster attack. So you want to get a sense of how much benefit you're actually going to get if that fast move hits. If you deal a ton of damage off of very fast attacks, that's great. Your character is probably a rushdown character, which means that they have a lot of benefit for playing very aggressive. Usually this comes with a trade-off, so you've probably got either really bad throw options, not great dodge follow-up, or you have very low health. Now that you've worked out your highest damage combo and your fastest combo, figure out a couple of mid-range combos. Figure out stuff that isn't the fastest, but is still pretty reasonable, so stuff that starts around the 2 speed range or the 1 speed range, and uses up your combo points, but doesn't use up a ton of cards. These are the combos you're probably going to be hitting most of the time. It's hype as hell when you hit with your max damage combo, but the bread and butter is what wins you the game. Another thing to look out for is how many aces you can get off of a straight. For example, Grave has 4 combo points, his normal moves are 1 combo point, so he can chain 2, 3, 4, 5 together, so he can chain 4 normals together to get a maximum of 2 aces. This is important for other characters, for instance, Dugray, who only has a straight off of 5, 6, 7. So to contrast those two characters, Grave has an ability to get up to 2 of his very important aces off of normal attacks, whereas Dugray has to hit with 5, 6, 7, a much slower move, starts on a speed 5 move, as compared to a speed 2, and can only look for 1 ace at a time. Okay, so now you have a sense of your different varieties of combos and tools. Next thing I would do is look at how many attacks you have that are faster than 1.0 speed. 1.0 speed is an important speed limit in a lot of different matchups. There's a variety of characters that have game states or a number of moves that sit right on that 1.0 speed line. So you want to have a sense of, when you're in those matchups or facing those characters, how many options you have to beat their game plan. Next, have a look at how many throws you have that are faster than 7.0 speed. Typically, this is going to be 0. Most people's fastest throws are on their 7, and they're usually not 7.0 speed. They're 7.2 all the way up to 7.8. So if you have a throw faster than that, that means you have a particularly good button to throw with. Next, go ahead and figure out how many dodges you have to work with. Dodges, again, are incredibly powerful, especially in the late game. If you've got 8 dodges, that's really few. So you've only got dodges on 2 ranks of your cards. If you have 20, that means you have a ton of ability to dodge. So the amount of the dodges you have, as well as the payoff you have, the damage you can deal after a successful dodge, is going to give you a sense of how threatening you are in the late game. Once you've done that work for yourself, then I would recommend that you go to some of the advanced guides in the forums. A lot of those advanced guides rely on you having a sense of what the character's moves list is, what their damage output is, what their sort of late game to early game pressure state is, whether they're rushed down, and all that kind of background information before you can really get a sense of what the advanced guide is trying to tell you. But once you're ready to do that, here's where you can find them. Head back to the forums. Go back to Yomi. Go to the collected links to important threads. And click on the Yomi 2nd edition character guides. Bob199 has put together a set of guides for all 20 characters in the game. These have been put together by members of staff as well as forum people. And each of them goes into more depth about the character. There's also a set of advanced guides that are non-character specific, as well as some character-specific advanced guides as well. So as an example, if we find the Grave Character Guide, you'll get a much more in-depth wall of text about all of the things that this character is capable of, what kind of decisions you want to be making, how to play with them, against them, matchup specific information, how difficult each of those matchups feels like it should be, as well as a whole host of other information. So I hope this has been useful to you. I hope you have a better sense of where to go and where to start when it comes to Yomi. Leave a like or a comment if you've enjoyed this or have something to say, and enjoy yourself some Yomi. Cheers.